Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 15th episode of A QISSAA with Ishika, quintessential and inspiring stories of South Asian artists. My name is Ishika Muchal, and I am coming to you from the land of the Tongva people, also known as Los Angeles, California. Happy New Year, everyone, and also wanted to share a very exciting announcement with you all that I was selected as a recipient of the California Arts Council Individual Artist Fellow Grant. So thank you to them for funding to continue sharing the stories of these trailblazing South Asian artists. So I am so excited to introduce to you my guest, Svetlana Tulasi, an Indian Classical Kathak and Bollywood dancer, dance educator, choreographer, and actor. Svetlana has performed internationally in Russia, India, Ukraine, Singapore, Finland, Canada, the US, and beyond. Some premier credits include Ukraine's Got Talent TV, Russia's Got Talent, So You Think You Can Dance from Ukraine, Dance Plus India, and TedX. She has also danced and acted in many music videos and commercials, including for Zee Music Company, Indialucia, TIC TAC TV in Russia. She is a winner of the Miss Bollywood Dance Star Award from the International Federation of Indian Dance. She has also starred in a documentary film called Indian Classical Dancers, so make sure to check that out. She has taught Kathak and Kathak Fusion Bollywood workshops around the world and currently teaches classes in person in LA and online. Svetlana has trained in Indian classical Kathak dance under Guruji Yekaterina Yurievna Selevyurstova and holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Kathak dance from Prayag Sangeet Samiti University of Indian Classical Music and Dance in Allahabad, India. She has also trained in acting from the New Collective LA Studio, a Los Angeles branch of the Susan Batson Acting Studio. I am so honored to welcome Svetlana Tulasi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure being on this show with you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this show. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm impressed with how you pronounce the name of my Guruji.
Thank you. I was really trying to just zone into the Russian there. Awesome. So let's get started. What drew you to Indian classical dance, and what specifically made you decide to pursue Kathak?
Well, I started because of my parents. I grew up in Russia, Moscow, surrounded by mostly Russian people. There's not a lot of Indian families over there. At least there wasn't when I was growing up. And so I was very disconnected from my culture, my Indian side, because I'm half Russian and half Indian by origin, but I never knew much about my Indian roots or anything about it until I started attending Indian classical dance classes. So my parents basically both were huge fans of Indian classical music, dance, films, of Raj Kapoor, architecture, like poems, so many things. And then they wanted, their kids to, connect to that passion. And so I started my first dance class in Kathak. Like I had never trained in any other style specifically. It was Kathak from the beginning. And I did not connect to it at first because I was like, this is so foreign. This is so different. How am I supposed to, understand this? Especially as a kid, influenced by what I see on TV and hear on the radio, which is, American pop culture, Russian pop culture, like European-ish, but not Indian. And so at first I was like, I'm not sure I'm gonna stick around. So I just kept doing it because my parents wanted me to. But eventually, with time and when they found the right guru for me, that's when I connected to it, and I was like, okay, let me stick around because I kind of start getting better at it. I kind of start liking it more. I kind of start understanding and feeling it more. So yeah, and it's been a wild journey since then.
Wow. What age did you start learning it?
I was 9 years old when I started, and then I kind of kept getting on and off, on and off. But then I found my Guruji. I mean, my parents found my Guruji for me. You could see it in the Universal when I was about 11, I think, 11 or 12. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So it's been practically all your life.
Yeah, more than half of my life I've been dancing. And initially, it was in training, just very meticulous training. Even though I wasn't technically doing it full time, like as a full time education, I do
Right.
have a degree, but it was a part of my life. The other part was, the backup plan to be, a financier, lawyer, those things, that parents want you to do. So dance was kind of always there, but I really treated it as like a very serious task to accomplish. Like I did not think, oh, it's just a hobby. I'll just do it once a week. I don't care. I was doing
Mhm.
it 4 or 5 times a week every week of my life since I was
Wow.
like 7. And even more hours a day when we were preparing for different competitions or shows. Like in Russia, there's not a lot of Indian stuff going on, but we do celebrate Holi and Diwali. So
Mhm.
those were the two biggest like events in the year where we would like go full on with all those costumes and shows and like competitions, like classical, Bollywood, Bhangra, Garba, like everything.
Oh wow.
And that was a big deal. So we were really, really preparing for that. Like, wake up, rehearse, maybe eat a little bit, rehearse again, eat a little bit, rehearse again. So it was like crazy. And that was most of my childhood and like when I was a teen. So yeah, I think it really shaped my personality in many ways. People think dance is just, something you do for fun, but for me, it's something that taught me discipline. It's something that taught me just how to connect to your roots. Even though
Mhm.
you might not connect at the beginning, just stick around and let it be in your life. And then at some point, you will feel that connection and you'll be like, how did I live without this? That was
Absolutely.
really the case. That's what happened with me.
Wow. Yeah. And for those of the audience who may not know exactly what Kathak entails, can you describe the dance form a little bit?
Yeah, Kathak is one of the traditional Indian dance styles. There are many others like Bharatnatyam, Kuchipudi, Odissi, Mohiniyattam. Kathak is the one that comes from the northern parts of India, like Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. And initially, it was a way of storytelling involving music, movement, poetry sometimes. Then eventually it came about to be more of a religious practice, like a religious dance to praise the gods at the Hindu temples. Then eventually with time and with the change of what was happening in the country, it became a way of just entertaining the rulers of that period, the Mughals. So it had a lot of Muslim culture added to that. Then eventually after that, it grew to become more of a stage art form. Like people would perform it in solos or duets sometimes. Then now it's more of a group act where you have a
Mhm.
group of dancers doing it for camera, television, stage as well, but like all sorts of ways of expression. It's a way of storytelling. You can tell literally any story using the body language and the style of this dance form. Traditionally, it was about Krishna Radha, which is the main characters in Kathak
Mhm.
historically. But nowadays, if you know the technique, if you know the abhinaya, which is the facial expressions and the rasa and bhav, the feeling and the emotion of the dance, you can tell any story. The one I did at TED Talk, TEDx, a couple of years ago was about climate change. Kathak is not a dance about climate change, but you can make it about climate change if you know how to use the language of the dance. So that's what I love about it. It's a traditional, old, some people would say dance style, but you can make it contemporary, you can make it relatable, you can make it current, depending on what story you want to tell, and that's why I love it.
Yeah. I think with Kathak and almost any Indian classical dance, they're just so timeless, like you're saying. Like they can really be adapted to tell the stories of back then and tell the stories of now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So how has being mixed Russian and Indian and also multilingual influenced your journey as a performing artist?
Well, it's really interesting because I always grew up a little bit Russian, a little bit Indian, but my mindset was neither of those two like dominant cultures. It was mostly like Western, general, maybe American, European,
Right.
because like I never felt like I'm Russian enough. I never
Mm.
felt like I'm fully Indian. Like obviously I'm not American because I just moved out here a year ago, but I always felt like in between of those cultures, like maybe the connecting um, medium, to connect those two completely or three completely different cultures. Um,
Right.
I was not bullied as such when I was a kid. I guess just because of the way I looked, because I looked slightly different, but like still considered to be a pretty girl. So I got a lot of attention, but still, like even today, if I walk the streets in Moscow, people don't really look at me like I'm just like someone passing by, a random stranger. They look at me like with curiosity, like they can't figure out what am I, like they have this like look trying to figure it out, or they sometimes they start speaking English to me because I don't look Russian at all. The native language, it's our family language. So I kind of felt like I don't really belong anywhere because of that. But at the same time, I try to just embrace everything that I am, ethnically, culturally, and just with my career choices. So being in America it felt like a natural step for me to just bring my different parts of my identity together and to showcase it to the world, because you don't have to be put in a box of, oh, you're Russian, so you're the bad guy, or you're Indian, so you have to talk like this. So I wanted to show that we are all people, we all come from different backgrounds, and we just want to tell our stories, no matter where we're from and what we do. So yeah, it's a mixed kind of experience being both cultures, being from
Yeah.
both cultures, but it has its good parts and it has its bad parts, I would say. You just gotta find your way around it. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like that the pressure of trying to be true to yourself, but also knowing that you are an ambassador for your culture wherever you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I've been told that I'm not Russian enough. I've been told I'm not Indian enough, either because of my skin color or because of the language barrier or because of something else, but
Right.
I just feel like, dude, I am the one to decide what I am, not anyone else. So let me just tell my story, what I'm
Right.
about, share that with the world, and then if you love it, you love it. It doesn't matter if I'm white or black or Asian or whatever.
Absolutely. So when you were growing up in Moscow, I know your how did your parents find your Guruji?
Uh, I honestly don't know because that was early 2000s. There was not a lot of internet back then in Moscow.
Right.
Getting started with like super basic websites to just search, almost like what that thick telephone book, but online.
Yeah.
Somehow they found my Guruji there, and then just took me to her, and she saw something in me. She saw potential, I think. Even though I was still a stubborn kid that did not want to do Kathak, saw something in me, and she really uh, poured her soul into it, all of her knowledge, all of her love for the dance style. Because there are people who are teachers because it's their job, but there are people who are teachers because that's just who they are and what they want to contribute to this world.
Mhm.
My Guruji was of that second kind. She really was like my dance mom. She
Yeah.
taught she taught me so much knowledge about not just Kathak, but like Indian culture as a whole,
Mhm.
all different kinds of it, all different parts of it, the history, like the deeper understanding of some of the terms that we use in classical dance, like what is tihai, what is tukara, what is tora. what is a parant? How do you use it? How do you improvise using it? Like so
Right.
many ways and different approaches. And that's what's cool about it, because I really, really love people who are deeply passionate about what they do, because that gets you passionate about it, and then you want to share that passion
Mhm.
with others. So I was really, really lucky that this happened, because there's like 3 Kathak teachers in Russia, I think, trained in the style from Indian universities, and then they came back, to continue spreading the knowledge. And she was just one of those 3.
Wow. Yeah, a good teacher can make or break your passion. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Because my first teacher, if anything, he kind of broke the seeds of potential passion, I would say. 'Cause he was just, yeah, I'm just here to do my job. I don't care.
Right.
Some
Mhm.
people are just like that. And I can't blame them. Maybe they don't get paid enough. Maybe they're not really in the right profession. I don't know. But it was like that. And even as a kid, you can feel it. You don't even understand it, but you
Mhm.
can feel how they treat you. 2 years of being with that teacher, I did not learn a single choreography, a single composition. It was just like, yeah, okay, let's do footwork. And then he would just leave like half an hour. Like he would literally go out of the class and have us just do footwork for half an hour without any supervision. I was like, if you're not interested, why would I be interested? Like,
Right.
I'll leave. And then with the consider the Yurivna, it was a whole different way of doing it. She was there with us, for us, pushing us, motivating us. She would never praise you too much, but she would give you just enough so you want to get a little better. So that kind of,
Mhm.
it's good.
Absolutely. And so, what made you decide to further pursue your training at the Prayag Sangeet Samiti University?
It was a natural thing, because uh, physically I was in Moscow, Russia, but
Right.
my Guruji's dance school was associated with, like, on a distance learning basis with Prayak Sangeet Samiti. So what would happen is every year somebody from India would fly to Moscow to take exams from us. So, like, say, first year of your training, you have to know Tintal, you have to know Japtal, you have to know like a Tumri, you have to know some kind of tarana, and you perform that and you recite that. You don't have to play the tabla, which is what they do over there, but because it's distance learning, there was nobody
Right.
there, so it was just the dance aspect. But yeah, so every year somebody would come take exams and then give us like a diploma. Okay, you either passed or not, or what's your mark. So I did that for 6 consecutive years, so 6 years of education formally. So that's done, and it was good, because not that I value as much a paper confirming that yes, I studied this, so I'm supposed to know it. It was just a thing that happened because I was into dance so much.
Mhm.
So yeah, it wasn't for the sake of getting a diploma. It was just, yeah, like, why not? Since I'm
Right.
spending so much time dancing, might as well get a diploma. So that's how it was.
Nice. Yeah, and I think the distance learning thing is clicking with everyone right now since so many of us are remote or were remote. So that's got
Exactly.
to be an experience in itself, learning dance that way.
Exactly. Mhm.
Wow. So what were some of the struggles of your journey early on and some of the specific issues you faced?
Uh, Surprisingly, it was mostly on the personal side, I would say, or the personal part of
Mhm.
it. Because when you're serious about something, any passion you got, any hobby, any interest of yours, that's going to eat up all of your free time. Because, still school, there's still like homework, there's still your friends, your family.
Right.
Everybody wants to spend time with you, and say, hey, let's hang out, let's go play. And I'm like, no, I have my dance class. So that was a problem throughout my journey, because I always had to choose, should I, hang out with my friends, or should I just stick to my training? And I always chose the training, which pissed off
Mhm.
everyone else, obviously. So that's a journey. Like, you have to really be passionate about it. You have to really be very, tunnel vision focused on where you want to go. And
Right.
I'm not even sure why I was like that, because when I was a kid, when I was still in training, I did not think that I was going to be a full time, like, Kathak performer, teacher,
Mhm.
whatever. I thought, I don't know what I thought, but I just stuck to it, and I'm like, I have to do this, and then everything else comes after, you know.
Right.
So that's one of the struggles, and you have to have a certain like level of determination to do that. Otherwise, you'll be too distracted by everyone and everything. Like, I'm not saying it never happened, but like 9 out of 10 times, I would choose dance over anyone or anything else.
Right.
That's probably one of the reasons why I'm, here today doing what I do. Because otherwise, without being super determined and super focused on your passion, on your task, you can't grow enough. You can't reach that level where you're, recognized as an artist.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it comes at a cost, but it also comes at a benefit, I guess.
Yeah, it's always both. It's just
Right.
I was always a stubborn kid. Like if I wanted something, I would just find a way to get it. If I knew I didn't want something, there's no way you would make me do it. And so I guess that stubbornness from since before I can remember transferred to my, work ethic, training ethic is
Determination. Yeah.
if it's important, it has to be done. Everything else comes later. And this is
Absolutely.
still my approach in life. Like no matter what I do, work comes first. What's important, like responsibilities comes first, and then everything else, the fun comes later.
And what has been your experience performing an Indian classical dance like Kathak and or Bollywood even to a Russian or Eastern European audience? Like, how has that been received by people who might not be familiar with it?
Well, with Bollywood, it's a little easier because no matter where you're from, there's Bollywood fans everywhere. In Russia specifically, because back before Russia was Russia, it was USSR, and during that time, that the cultural ties between USSR and Russia and India were so strong that all the Bollywood movie premieres would be in Russian cinemas, like all over the country, in the USSR cinemas, all over the Union. So it was huge. Raj Kapoor, Hema Malini, Rekha, Amitabh Bachchan, all of those were like household names. Everyone knew who they were. So it was really strong. So people, it's like a generational love for Bollywood.
Yeah.
So that's the easy part. The harder part is the classical dance because it's much more conservative. The music is not as fun and crazy like Bollywood, right? It's not doesn't have this much whatever masala in it. So you just need to find the right audience, And I've always had, not always, but I've developed this approach that if you want something very traditional to be accepted by a wider audience, a wider, broader spectrum of audience, you want to contemporize it. You want to make it more entertaining. You want to find a way to connect, whether it's through the story you're trying to tell or through infusing the music with something or costume or your facial expressions or, better case, everything. So
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing. After I completed my training, I went on a solo journey. I started doing that. I started figuring out how to take Kathak to a more, mainstream field. How to make it less, small community and make it
Right.
recognized. Of course, Bollywood plays a major role in that because movies like A QISSAA, Mughal, Umrao Khan, Devdas, they have done so much to popularize Kathak. Um, but people don't know that it's Kathak. They think it's Bollywood. So
Right.
when they see me perform, they ask, like, I don't know what you're doing, but I like that. So how do I learn that? That's kind of how they get introduced into Kathak. Like sometimes I take pure Bollywood music, but I do pure Kathak with that, with a little bit more of expression, a little bit more than Kathak would normally have. And that's how people get connected to. That's how they get, curious about it. And that's just the way that I found of, getting more and more people to fall in love with it. That's eventually what I want to do. Have as many people as I can inspired and fall in love with the dance form. So they go back to the roots, to the traditional foundation to build up. Because you can be a great Bollywood dancer, but you don't have a foundation of any other style, classical style preferably, you will not be as clean, crisp, you know, fast, great. All of those things will be missing. You will still be good, but there's a difference that you can immediately see if somebody has a proper foundation or not. So I prefer to have people train in the classical style first, and then later on, into any other style, Bollywood, fusion, whatever, you know, start with the base, start with the foundations.
Absolutely. When I was learning Bharatanatyam and Bollywood at the same time, my Bollywood teacher told me to stop Bollywood, learn Bharatanatyam first, and then.
Exactly. A lot of people do that, and that's the right way, even though people don't like that because they want to start with Bollywood and then, yeah, you go to Kathak, for technique, but it doesn't work that way. You have to do the technique first, then you
Right.
do Bollywood. Yeah.
Build a foundation. Absolutely. And for anyone who's tuning in right now, this is A QISSAA with Ishika, and I'm speaking to Kathak dancer, educator, and actor Svetlana Tulasi. And just a reminder, if you're liking this series and if you've seen it before, or if this is your first episode, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you get notified for the next QISSAA. So as a choreographer, like you were saying, how you went on this solo journey of contemporizing Kathak, what gives you the inspiration to create new pieces, and what's your process like when you're choreographing?
Most of the inspiration comes from music. I am such a lover of music. You can take everything away from me and leave just the music, I'll still be a happy person because just my greatest inspiration. I wish I could play an instrument or sing, but I can't really do any of those things good enough. So I stick to dance, stick to what I know, and act. But the inspiration comes from the music because, especially good music, when it has multiple layers, multiple levels to it. So you can follow the lyrics, you can follow the beat, you can follow some of the musical instruments, you can follow just the energy of the song sometimes. And I love breaking down the song into those layers and then, okay, which layer do I want to catch at this particular moment? Do I want to do the accent here, or do I want to just flow through it because the lyrics are flowing or the music like sitar is flowing? So yeah, I hear a song and then I instantly just feel something if I click with it, and then I just start choreographing in my head first, and then eventually with a mirror, and then with a group of people doing it, or with myself if it's a solo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's music.
Gotta love music.
No, right? It's the most important thing to me in the world, I think. Without music, there's just no life is just boring.
Absolutely. And so I think I've seen a lot of your videos where you performed in duets or recently in some group performances as well. So how do you look for a collaborator, and what do you specifically look for the person you're collaborating with?
It depends on the task. Sometimes I hear a song and it's a pure classical Kathak song, and I just look for someone trained in Kathak, like properly trained to the same level that I am, approximately. And then we meet up, we both either like or dislike the song, and then we start working on it. Like this recent duet I did with a guy I met here in LA. He's a trained Kathak dancer. He's from New Jersey, Shiv Nadkarni. He's trained in Kathak and he cleared his degree and everything. And yeah, just lives out here, does some other stuff for a living, but Kathak is still there. So
Right.
just found him because of his Kathak training, and yeah, it was a nice way to meet new people and connect with them because you don't really have to have a lot in common other than just the dance style. You just meet up, play the song, and then the magic happens. That collaboration, the creative, like giving each other some ideas and energies throughout the dance. That's what happens. When I look for group dancers, it's usually for some gigs, some performances that I have coming up. So I look for specifically people who can pick up choreography really fast, do it crisp, clean, and with the right amount of energy. So those are usually, I would say, I'm not sure how they are called here, but in India they call them industry dancers, which are basically dancers that do any dance style like this. Like you show it once, they got it, good. So they just do jazz, ballet, Bollywood, anything, Bhangra, any style you give them, except for maybe Kathak because it's just too different from everything else. They will do it. They will do it just like that. And this was my most recent collaboration with dancers who currently work for Disney here in LA. Disney California Adventure Park, and they just picked up choreography just like this. And I'm like, oh my god, it takes months for people to work
Yeah.
do it in like a day. So it's really amazing to connect with so many beautiful, talented artists here, and that's why I love this city, because there's just so many incredibly talented dancers out there who are just brilliant. But yeah, my favorite collaboration so far has been with Kumar Sharma. It was a little bit unlikely to happen initially, because I saw him on YouTube, one of his pure classical Kathak performances, and I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. The energy, the cleanliness, the crispness, the spins, the footwork, everything was perfect. And I remember telling my Guruji that, oh, like, Guruji, what do you think if I perform with this guy? Would it be nice? She said, I think he's better than you. You shouldn't dance with him because you're gonna fail in comparison. I was very offended by that, but I'm like, you're the teacher, so you probably know better. I did it anyway. So I invited him to join me for Russia's Got Talent, because I was a part of the show as a contestant, as a solo contestant. And then I spoke to the producers of the show and said, hey, there's this Indian choreographer. Can we have him to, work with me for the next episode, for the semifinals? And they said,
Right.
yeah. So I brought him, and then we just met. The dance studio was started working, and then it just clicked like this. Like, everything was just so naturally. Um, we had a very good connection, very good chemistry.
Right.
And that's very important, because you might be the greatest dancer in the world, but if you don't like personally connect, then it's just going to look like, yeah, I'm by myself, you're by yourself, and we're just dancing, on the same
Right.
at the same time. But it doesn't feel like we're dancing together and creating more than, so 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. It creates more than 2, because it creates something else. This is
Right.
exactly what happened with Kumar. And it was super random, because we never met before that, and we met, rehearsed, and then went on television, live television. That was crazy. That was
Wow.
scary. We were underslept, over rehearsed, extremely tired. But it happened, and that was a very fruitful collaboration. We've been performing together for ever since. I mean, COVID had to, stop us for a little while, but we're back at it, and it's still one of the most fruitful collaborations so far, just because of, I guess, so many things clicked. The just the way we look, like physical appearance, height, style, energy, just the chemistry, all of those things, they just clicked really well, and yeah, we'll still perform together. I love
Right.
that.
Everyone in the audience also loves your pieces with Kumar. As you can see, I just shared a comment, and I think that's like where a lot of people have seen you perform is with Kumar Sharma. So
Yes, yes, yes. Those videos went viral, in the student.
yeah.
Like, it's good. I'm really happy that this happened. And we didn't expect any of this. We just went, okay, television, okay, let's do it. Some show in Russia, like, how
Right.
did nobody know about it even? And then I just uploaded it on YouTube, and then it just boom. People were sending it to each other on WhatsApp, like this Russian girl, like, what? Like, back on Russia's got, like, what? Because it was very new and very unusual. But then I'm glad this happened, and it's really nice to find amazing people all over the world who share the passion for the same thing that you do, who are very good at what they do, and they just have the same goal, I guess. They have the same desire to spread the word about this dance form and make it more mainstream. That's what we're trying to do in our own ways and together.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were saying that you recently moved to LA to pursue acting as well. So what was the impetus behind that shift?
Uh, it was super random, actually. I got a movie contract, a movie offer, to lead at a science fiction film. It's called The Xenophobes, and my character is Captain Shriya Bala, the captain of a spaceship.
Mhm.
It's a story about astronauts in the future making the first alien contact, and then the story goes. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and this happened in the middle of at the beginning of the pandemic. In March 2020, I got the offer right when everything was shutting down. So it was like I was in Russia at home with my mom, scared like everyone else. First pandemic, no one knows what's going to happen. That's way before the vaccines were around, so it was very scary. It took me a long time to get the visa done because embassies are closed.
Mhm.
Like the borders are closed. You can't fly anywhere. You can't go
Mhm.
anywhere. It's scary. So somehow by miracle, I got my visa. I flew out here. We shot the movie. It's currently in post production, and yeah, I've been here since then, performing, teaching, acting for various projects, choreographing. Yeah, doing all the things that I love doing.
Mhm. And has the abhinaya portion of Kathak helped you in acting?
Yeah, definitely. I had some training in acting from New Collective LA. It's a
Mhm.
branch of Susan Batson's studio in New York, which is based out here in LA. And my coach is Greg Brown. He's amazing. He really has this approach where he wouldn't criticize you, but he would make a point and you would know how to get better,
Mm.
whichever the scene you were doing, whether it's drama, comedy, action, doesn't matter, like anything you do. And
Right.
yeah, I've spent about think 6 months in person of like everyday training with him. And then during the COVID, when it began, all of that time while I was getting the visa, I was training with him through Zoom because he's in LA and I'm in Russia. But he really helped me, and dance also helped me. I feel like dancing and acting, they have a lot in common, yet they are very different because dance is all about movement. And obviously, when you do auditions, which is the most thing that actors do, right? You can't really move much. You have to be still straight. So, and you have to adjust because when the camera is right in your face, you can't do very big expressions like you would do on stage for like a theater live audience. So
Mhm.
that adjustment is there. Learning how to say the lines while really connecting to what you're saying and feeling it and making the audience feel something. That is a new challenge, but I love it because I feel like those two really complement each other, especially because it's not just dance, but specifically classical dance. Because
Right.
we say classical dance, assuming it's just a dance style, but what it really is, Kathak is a dance style. It's a way of understanding music because you have to know the rhythm so well to be able to
Right.
perform it, like how to recite it, how to break it down into pieces. You have to know theater. You have to perform for the back row of your audience so that they can read what is on your face, what you're trying to express. So it's music, it's dance, it's acting. Abhinay is the most important part of Indian dance, whether it's classical, Bollywood, Bhangra, doesn't matter. Any Indian dance style, if you do it with just a plain face, it has no impact.
Yeah.
Nobody. So what's the point of your movement? So it definitely helps because my face expresses more than I can say with words sometimes. And then when you add words, it creates a whole different kind of experience for whoever's watching. So yeah, I really love blending those two. That's the ultimate dream, to blend the world of Indian classical dance with the world of mainstream, media, big screen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as a Bharatanatyam dancer and an actor, like my favorite part of Bharatanatyam was abhinaya because I got to act. So I was like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. We think these cultures are too different because they come from different countries and
Right.
languages and other barriers, but ultimately, what we're all trying to do is tell our stories the best way we can. Just using different means of expression, and blending those two is just something that this world needs because we are too disconnected in so many ways, and this is just one thing that can connect us. Trying to tell a story using different, acting and dance techniques.
Hmm. Yeah. And one of the members of our audience, who is also a Kathak dancer, Needu Singh, is asking a question. So, with the advent of social media and connectivity, world has become closer in the last few years. So, what changes or adaptations have you noticed in the dance form, the interpretation, and the responses from your audience?
Well, there is definitely the major change that I feel is that when you perform for the vertical TikTok slash Reels format, you can't really move around as much. You have to be in the frame, and the frame doesn't usually catch you,
Mhm.
which is very different from what Kathak normally is. Because when you perform it traditionally, it's on stage. Stage is big. You are one. You have to be all over the place to cover the entire stage with your
Right.
movement, with your presence. So that's changed. You have to stay on the same spot and do everything as if you were actually moving, which is a whole different kind of challenge. But some people have mastered it. There's a bunch of examples on Instagram and TikTok of dancers who are trained in either Bharatanatyam or Kathak or Bhangra or like Bollywood in general. They do that pretty well. They get all those special effects like a fan, blowing your hair, and then the lights, the camera setup, and then you do your dance thing with all the mudras. Yes, it's good to do it in front of a camera because we can see your expressions better than if you perform it on stage. But you can't move around. And to me, it feels like, it's
Restricted, yeah.
jump. I want to be all over the place, which is how we stage. Because we do live shows more than we do videos. So for a live show, you have to move around. And then when you try to put that on camera, you have to adjust it. You have to cancel out all the movement here and there. You have to mostly, maybe back and forth, but not much side to side, and especially not covering the entire space. So that's a change. And yeah, it's just the length of the performances. I remember when we were starting with the dance competitions in Russia, 7 minutes was like an okay time to perform, like 7 minutes for one dance piece.
Yeah.
Now, 1 minute maybe max, 30 seconds. So that has changed definitely for every style, you're like, and it's hard because especially when you take a South Indian classical dance, Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi, the intro itself is like 5 minutes before the
Yeah.
action. How are you supposed to, adjust that? So that has changed because people are the time. I guess the way people feel the time has changed. Everything has to be faster. We want to be
Right.
entertained instantly, like this. We can't wait for 2 minutes for your intro. We have to just jump right into it right away. Otherwise, nobody's going to see it. So that has changed. You have to grab attention now instead of slowly developing, building up the speed, the drama of your performance.
Right.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of adjustments. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. But it's just I don't want to be a conservative Kathak dancer who just doesn't like any change at all, which is
Right.
strange to me because I believe that Kathak by itself as a dance form has evolved through time so many times. It changed from being Hindu to Muslim to stage to like solo, group, all sorts of things. Now camera, now TikTok, you know.
Yeah.
So it's changed so much because, and that's why it stayed alive. That's why it stayed relevant because it keeps adapting to whatever is happening in the world.
Right.
You gotta embrace that. It's just that what I see right now is that a lot of people who have zero training in classical styles, they still try to perform it and they call it fusion,
Mm.
which I get it. People are inspired and they just want to dance. I have nothing against that. But I just, as a trained classical dancer, I feel like this is not the right way to present dance,
Right.
because it's like, it's like I go watch a Nutcracker and I think I'm a ballet dancer and then I go and try to perform ballet for TikTok. And like, what I
Right.
difference. Ballet is the Western classical style. Kathak,
Mhm.
Bharatanatyam is the Indian, but people don't really realize that. They just think it's all fun dancing. But I just feel like it's mistreatment of a traditional art form. Get some
Mhm.
training, then go out and show it to the world, the way it's supposed to be. But
Yeah.
nobody has to be for that. Everybody wants everything
Yeah.
fast.
It's like that instant gratification thing. You're undermining like the years of training.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. That's so interesting how you're saying, especially like with Bharatanatyam or Kathak, how the intros are so long and now we need everything so fast. It's like trying to cut a monologue, but still trying to keep the context. Like
Yep.
it's so difficult to keep it in a.
Another reason why nowadays in the television and film industry, we go to Netflix instead of movie theaters, like, or equivalent to streaming platforms, because they have binge-worthy shows, and it's not like a 10-hour movie. It's like a 45 minutes. Yes, yeah, we can watch for 45 minutes, and then another one, and then another one. So nobody wants to watch a 3-hour movie because it feels like it's too long, but they would watch it broken down into short pieces. So that's partly what we do with social media and dance right now.
Mm.
We can take a one big piece of dance, but we have to split it up into 30-second episodes, so people can
Right.
stay engaged and entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah, which it is what it is. It's not good or bad. It's just it is what it is. If you don't like it, if you don't adapt, you'll just be, left behind, I guess, in some ways.
Right.
There's that.
Yeah. um, and speaking about like the differences in different experiences, what have been some of the differences of the performing arts environments of Russia, India, and the US now?
Well, I wouldn't say that the live theater and dance is back because it's very slowly trying to come back right now. So I can only compare what was before COVID, in Russia and India and like worldwide, and then what is after COVID here. I guess it's the audience. The audiences are really different everywhere. In Russia, you perform for the general non-Indian public. In
Mhm.
India, you perform for Indian public. Here, it's mixed crowd. It's really
Right.
a mixed crowd, and the response is always different. I love performing everywhere, but I think the craziest fans of Bollywood that I've seen were actually not Indian. They were in South America.
Oh, wow.
I was performing for an Indian dance festival in Chile,
Mhm.
Santiago, and people were just going crazy. Like maybe it was just that particular crowd that was just wild fans of Bollywood dance, but they were like screaming even when it was a classical dance performed on stage. They were like, "Yeah, like woo!" You don't usually hear a lot of cheering when you perform a classical dance, but that's
Right.
and I was like, wow, that's interesting. Um, but yeah, otherwise, I just feel like in other countries outside of India, most people they really love it, but they don't necessarily understand it fully because you have to speak the language, you have to know the culture. Um, they just appreciate the beauty, the energy, the technique, the abhinaya.
Mhm.
Whereas in India, they connect deeper to the lyrics. They understand everything more than most people
Right.
outside of India. So they have a different kind of appreciation for what you do, especially because to them, to the people in India, I'm a foreigner. Like I'm not
Right.
like proper Indian to them. So they appreciate it even more. I get asked a lot of times, how do you portray the Abhinay so on point when you're a foreigner. I'm like, well, I do my homework. I study.
Right.
I understand every line of every song that I choreograph to, that I perform to, because I need a very deep connection with it. I need a very deep understanding of what it is that I'm trying to tell you, what it is that I'm trying to make you feel. So that's
Right.
why the Abhinay comes from there. The Abhinay is usually not choreographed. It's usually something that just naturally flows out of me
Mhm.
when I connect to the music and the meaning of the song. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a different levels of understanding what you're doing.
Mhm.
In Russia, they don't understand, but they appreciate for the most part. In India, they understand and they are mostly like surprised. Like, how do you do it?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the abhinaya and just the dance that you're saying, like their confusion that a quote unquote foreigner can do it. It's like it's not about the language. It's just about being human. Like I feel like the dance, like you're describing, storytelling transgresses language, and if you're able to just connect with that, yeah,
If you really love the song, you don't really get to understand it. Like there's a lot of Spanish songs, German songs, Italian songs that I don't
right,
speak language, but I just love them. So I might look up the lyrics just to to get an idea of what it's about, but not always. That's not always the case.
right,
Just appreciate what you hear, you appreciate what you see, and you just recognize that this really takes a tremendous amount of effort to achieve that level of um, grace, that level of ease on stage. Because
Mhm.
what's the difference between a trained dancer and a non-trained dancer? You can do the hardest stuff but make it look easy and make it
Mhm.
it's just flowing out of you, even though it's like crazy speed. Um, that's the difference. And people, if they don't necessarily understand it, they can still appreciate that. And I think that's the good part. That's what keeps us going and performing across the globe, because there's in any country there will be people who will appreciate just the amount of effort and beauty and grace that it takes to perform at this level. So that's what I love about Indian culture. It's so rich, so full of flavor.
Mhm.
So many people can relate to it, can connect to it.
Absolutely. And what advice would you have for an aspiring artist, and especially those of South Asian or mixed descent?
Build a routine. If you really like to dance, if you really want to be good at it, you have to have a routine.
Mhm.
Have to have your priorities straight. Doing dance once a week doesn't really get you anywhere other than just having fun. Has to be more than that. It has to be, whether it's your work by yourself or with an instructor, Zoom, you're learning online, some online dance studio. Uh, Stick to a regular routine. Consistency is the only thing that builds greatness. Like, I was not great when I started, to say the least, but I was very consistent. I was very dedicated, and that's what brought me to where I am right now. And some people are blessed and born, with an incredible ability to just be perfect from the beginning, almost. I'm not one of those people. I worked my way up there, and for most people, that's the way to go. You have
Right.
to have a very clear understanding why you want to do this and where you want to be with this. If you don't have that, it's just going to be for fun. It's just going to be like, yeah, here and there, but you will not be great. If you want to be great, you have to have a consistent routine with feedback from somebody whose opinion matters to you in the field, whether it's some guru in India. You might necessarily even know them, but you can reach out to them for a consultation and say, hey, I want to be great. How do I get there? What do I work on? Should I improve my chakras? Should I improve my abhinaya? Is it both? Is it, something else? So it's, yeah, consistency. It's really a universal advice. It's not just for dance, it's for anything. Whatever you want to be great at, you need a consistent routine and just what's it called, accountability. You know, maybe have somebody to hold you accountable if you can't do it yourself. Have a friend, boyfriend, partner, parent, brother, sister, teacher. Teacher is the best option, but if you don't have a teacher, find someone to keep you accountable.
Mhm.
That's the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple of people in the chat are asking about your dance classes. So can you talk about them and how they can access them, maybe?
Yeah, I do both one-on-one classes in my studio in downtown LA, and I do Zoom classes, mostly Zoom, but in person as well. Individual classes, two people at a time sometimes. Like, I have a mother and a daughter. I have a grandmother and a grandson. Like, there's all different kinds of people that come to class.
Mhm.
Most of my classes can be found on my website at svetlanatulasi.com. I'm gonna start a group batch from next weekend, I think, for Kathak classes. I usually have classes for beginners and for more experienced dancers. And then every now and then I teach a Bollywood choreography in studios, whether it's in North Hollywood or in Cerritos, sometimes in other studios, but mostly those two. So yeah, I usually post all of my updated information on my Instagram, Facebook. So that's the fastest way to find what's happening, what's going on, and yeah, my website and my social media.
Awesome. Yes, and I just put the website and the link for the YouTube, and I've been tagging you on all my social posts. So if anyone's interested, just go to that. Yeah, so this series, as you know, is called A QISSAA with Ishika, and QISSAA means episode. So can you tell us one influential QISSAA from your life that has shaped your artistic journey?
Yeah, it happened about 5 years ago. It was one decision that has shaped my future as it is right now, which was the decision to choose me and my dream over everything else.
Mhm.
I had to choose between a relationship that would, you know, create family, children, and a traditional housewife and husband kind of family.
Mhm.
Or on the other side was my dream of being a worldwide dancer, performer, actor, educator, all of that. And I was at a point where I had to choose one, and I chose dance. It was a very hard decision, and most people didn't really understand it
Mhm.
because why would you choose something so unpredictable, something so hard, something that there's no blueprint to follow? Because Kathak dancer as a career is not really a thing in most parts of the world. Even in
Mhm.
India, it's very questionable because that's not a way to that's not a way to reach a huge audience. That's not a way to make a lot of money. That's not a way to be famous or to have a huge impact. But I chose that way because I thought that's what I'm supposed to do in my life. And I'm really glad I did because if I didn't, I would have probably been very miserable. Sometimes it takes ridiculously difficult decisions, despite all the odds, fighting all sorts of things on your way, just to stay true to who you are and who you want to be in life. Yeah, so fast forward 5 years, I am as happy as it gets. I'm doing what I love. I'm growing, I'm still learning, I'm sharing my knowledge and my love for what I do with the world, and it's bringing its fruitful results. So there's more interesting, exciting things to come in the films, in the dance scene. I'm
Ah.
excited about that. I'm really genuinely happy.
Well, I am very glad you went through that. Just because then we get to watch you perform all the time. Um, and like you were hinting at, can you talk about some of your upcoming and current projects?
Um,
Whatever you can disclose.
there's so much in the works. But let's just say the ultimate dream, like I mentioned earlier, is to bring the world of dance and the world of cinema, mainstream media together. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm working on I'm approaching it from different ways, from writing to directing, choreographing, um, creatively managing. Um, I can't be more specific, unfortunately, but yeah, it's just a whole bunch of things that I'm working on that will hopefully one day come together and create something that you guys can watch and hopefully appreciate. So yeah, it's just trying
Absolutely.
to bring Kathak out there on every major platform.
Mhm. Well, whenever the NDA side of it disappears, I'm very excited to see what you're working on, and I'm sure everyone else is as well. And I, number one, just wanted to thank you for taking the time out to talk with me and share your journey. And number two, for doing the work to elevate Kathak to the status of like international recognition that you've brought it to. Uh, so
Thank
much
you.
gratitude for your work for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me in this conversation. It just reminded me one more time why I'm doing this. Because guys, this path is not for everybody.
Hmm.
Following your dreams is great, but it's not for everybody. It's
Right.
way harder than following a blueprint of any other career that's already out there, and you kind of know how to get there and be steady in life. But there's
Right.
nothing more rewarding than actually getting it. So I guess, this is what makes you really genuinely happy. Just follow your
Absolutely.
dreams.
And one last question from the chat. Are you learning any other dance forms right now?
A little bit. I try to go to different dance classes by other instructors here and there. Um,
Mhm.
Jazz funk, street jazz, a little bit of bhangra, a little bit of Latin dance styles like salsa, bachata. But that's just for fun. That's not really for incorporating into my dance. It's mostly just for my soul.
Very cool. Gotta just keep on dancing in whatever way we can.
Yeah, because people don't realize dance is more than what it seems to be. It's a physical exercise. It's a mental release of the frustration that you might have from your day. It's also an art form, so it elevates your soul to somewhere where it cannot reach without it. It's just so many things, and I hope that with time, more and more people will appreciate what dance really gives us.
Right.
It's just so many things. It's my life.
Absolutely. And until then, we will appreciate you and your incredible dance that we get to see in whatever form we can. And thank you again so much for joining.
Thank you, guys.
All right. And everyone else, please stay tuned for the announcement of the next Kissa, which should be coming soon. All right. Take care.
Goodbye.